It's not actually a payload. It is a piece of the spaceplane. A spaceplane delivering a spaceplane would be pretty awesome footage, but that would require a quite megalithic sized spaceplane. Hello, select the EM drive, please. I would like to disable it, please. Ah, jeez. What in the world? This is the bane of having something wrapped in something else. Where's the frickin' EM drive in here? There we are. The EM drive was pretty much sucking all of our atmospheric power away. I have a headset mic. I just hate wearing a headset. I actually need a whole lot of other equipment too, not just the mic. And the other thing is, I'm pretty certain I had the order of those switched before. Like, I'm pretty sure the thermal ramjet's supposed to ignite first. Yeah, they are. I don't know how they got it backwards. It's set correct. It ignited the EM drive first. Enable all our receiver panels here. something is causing it to work, and I'm going to have to check out and find out what it is, because it's not supposed to be rocking like this. It's also that SAS simply sucks at handling atmospheric flight. So our ascent pattern looks great. Just got medley. Why is it wanting to rotate to the left? So weird. Definitely like it has some form of torque, but I can't figure out what's causing it. Everything is symmetrical. Now we're still generating thrust back here, but only a few kilonewtons of it. Bringing online the EM drive with its vacuum plasma thrust. And we are now generating 21 kilonewtons of thrust from the EM drive. We'll now go ahead and extend our panels and our radiator receiver. And since this is no longer effective, we can shut down the engine. And that's what I was concerned about. The Rectenna did not even make it out of atmosphere. Oh, that's where our drag and our torque was coming from. I never pulled our gear up. Like an idiot. Oops. Burp. Now we're going to toggle these over to being radiators. I think we're going to keep our beamed power display open for the moment. I'm thinking we're going to go to Duna, or not Duna, Moon for the fun of it. This is an actual mission. This is just I'm testing out a craft, a theoretical model to see how it performs. So far, I am freaking amazed. 32 persistent thrust out of an EMD in local Kerbin space due to the fact that we have a reactor that is pumping out over 44 or 42 gigawatts of power. And the best part is that the electromagnetic drive functions in high warp. There's Moon. What will be really crazy is if we could land on Moon with the EMD. I'm almost certain we could land on Duna with it. We wouldn't even have to use any hydrazine on Duna. Think of all the gravity slingshots you could do with this thing. Oh my god, it'd be nuts. Notice I haven't even touched the hydrazine yet. We don't even have thrusters on this. I probably should put some thrusters on it, though, if we actually plan on keeping it and using it. Free return orbit. Then another orbit. Wow, we can do multiple orbits here. Wow. That's all I can say is, holy crap. That would be a direct impact to me. I'll try to take it down to 100. No, actually, we'll do 12,000 meters. Reason being is that will be that's the safe approach altitude for Moon. You can get that close without wrecking yourself on the surface. Whoa, too much. Calibrate. 8,000 is starting to get a little hairy, though. This guy's already on its way to Duna. It doesn't even have the EMD on it. I should have, if I had known that I was going to unlock the EMD, this thing would have already had the EMD on it on its way. Oh, this is looking gorgeous. All right, I feel comfortable with that. All right, we're going to stay locked on retrograde because that's what we're going to need next time we get to our next sphere of influence change here. Bring up Kerbal alarm clock just to make sure nothing's going to mess with us in the next few days. Nope. Yeah, this EMD may have literally just heralded a new era of space travel in my campaign. Well, give me a few minutes here and you'll at least be able to see whether or not we make it. Shouldn't be more than 5 minutes to get to the ground, hopefully. I want to try to come around on the bright side and land. Alright, see what our TWR number turns out to be when we ping this into the power. Who was that? That was Open Horizon. Thank you. About to hit periapsis. Initiating burn. TWR is only 0.38 at Moon. That's not too good. Should be enough, though, to help us close our orbit. May just take some work. Now, I'm only getting 22 kilonewtons out of it right now, and the reason for that is we're going into a small gap in coverage for the power grid. Yeah, we're getting our max power right now. That is weird. I wish Freethinker had stuck around. We went to 8 gigawatts when we're not using the thermal engine. I'm guessing it's the size of the thermal engine then that was limiting our output. All right, have a good one, Quantity. You can catch the end of it later if you need to or want to. I do plan on uploading it. Where is Kerbin right now, anyway? Oh no, we haven't actually hit the power limit yet. The power limit's going to be when we come around the bright side because of where the Kerbin's located right now. Yeah, our thrust is starting to drop off because of the lack of power from Kerbin. Not unexpected. Okay, the periapsis height has been pushed up some, which is good and safe. We want to cut our engine though because we don't want it to get too high. And we're going to sweep around again and bring it even lower. And who was that with the follow? Let me see here. I keep an eye on our screen too at the same time. That was Turco Portugals. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the Dragon Horde. H-O-R-D-E. I don't know if a TWR 0.58 is sufficient to land on the moon's surface. I don't think it is. We may have to actually use our hydrazine. Again, this is all being done by an EM drive. Putting out about 27 kilonewtons of thrust right now. 28, increasing just slightly. Guessing we come into another power array that's working for us. Now have lunar surface impact. We're going to reactivate our primary engine. Actually, we need to have it a little high because probably about 10,000 meters, because we need to be able to come down pretty much vertically. Because if we come down horizontally, we're going to have the problem with getting this thing to land, given that it has no landing gear other than the aircraft landing gear. We got to land very gently. And we also have to land. Oops, don't want to use hydrazine yet. Let's get our altitude to about 10,000 meters and cut engine. Actually, let's just check and make sure we're not going to intercept ground at that low altitude. 10,000 give us time to decelerate, given that we're using this type of engine. Third thing we want to do is retract these. When we get close to the ground, there's going to be a risk of them colliding. Fortunately, it doesn't seem that we actually may need those. I might be able to take those off. It seems like our panels, just our radiator wings, may be sufficient to the job, and our belly skin. Again, for those joining, this is a test flight of a hybrid aircraft using an electromagnetic drive or an EM drive. and a thermal ramjet that uses hydrazine. Okay, so we have one major problem right now, and that is we're not getting power. At least not a lot of it. Oh, we just came back into the Tri-Alpha's range. So the power you're seeing here, the 293 megawatts we're getting, is actually coming from ACK, or from Duna. It's being fired by an X-ray from high orbit Duna. And the reason that we're not getting any power to our EM drive right now is because we don't have a relay system around the moon yet, which I'm going to have to fix. We have 3 orbital relays around Kerbin, which can provide planet power all the way around Kerbin, but if it's eclipsed by Moon, that power grid means nothing. Now what's going to happen is as soon as we come into view of Kerbin, we're going to start receiving gigawatts of power. This EM drive is going to pick up its power real quickly, and we're going to be able to cut our velocity. So we're probably about to land on the dark side. We won't have much choice on that, given the moon's current orientation. This is one of the funner aspects of being power. You have to build the infrastructure to get to where you want to go. If you don't have the relay set up around a given body, you can't be guaranteed you're going to be able to land on that side of that body. Now, the more of the solar system that you have covered in beam power reactors, the more you're going to be able to go planet to planet without worrying about a relay grid. But until you have that set up, Kerbin is going to be your other sun, and there's going to be no way around it. And here we go. There goes the thrust. We finally got a valid angle on one of the satellites around Kerbin. Here's one of the scrap pieces that I had to rescue Kerbal from at one point. We just happened to coincidentally be in the same orbit as it. That's funny. We might have a little bit of light to land in at least. But I will say this much. It is a good thing that we brought hydrazine, because as soon as we go back below the horizon as we descend in altitude, there is a good possibility we will lose power again. Because I'm not sure exactly where we're getting our relay source from, but it has to be one of the geostationary satellites out in the distance over here. See, Kerbin Rise is just on the horizon. Matter of fact, there's the old planet itself. Now the good news is, the way we're oriented, we're going to bleed off most of the orbital velocity before we start our descent. Also, our power output is going to start picking up, because what's going to happen is, as we go more and more, as we go slower and we start to descend, the angle of our orientation is going to change so that our receiver has a more direct facing to Kerbin and its power plants. Right now I'm letting the EM drive do almost all the work. See, we're already starting to tilt. And that means our facing is going to improve. As our facing improves, our thrust will improve. And here it goes. It's already starting. The thrust is already starting to pick up more. Yeah, we're starting to get a lot more thermal power now. Up to 20. Now we've hit our apoapsis. At this point, we're going to have to start relying on hydrazine to counter our forward momentum so we can land safely. I need to put that on toggle. Now we're going to use the EM drive to help us keep from building any significant momentum on the way down. But we need a steeper descent for certain. Wow, that was loud. Hydrazine? Hydrazine. Aren't you firing, hydrazine? Oh, that would be why. Whoa, too much, too much, too much, too much. Way too much. Bad engine. Okay, to recap, the goal here is to land facing east on our landing gear at less than 50 meters per second descent speed. If we pull that off, we win. Wow, so it's just like a hair's breadth between too little and too much speed. Now we got way too much forward momentum. Yeah, this thing definitely needs a little RCS to help. This is where it gets just a little tricky. Good bounce, no bad bounce. Good bounce. Good bounce. That's right, good bounce. Welcome to Moon, everyone. I don't know about you guys, but I just about used my vomit bag. And that's how you land a space plane on the moon. Now, fun part is, Let's see if we can get home. So the question is, can we rebuild enough momentum from periapsis or from apoapsis, bring our periapsis back up over moon horizon? No, I don't think I'm even going to need that engine. Ladies and gentlemen, we have successfully exited Moon without using more than a few hundred delta V. All right, now we need to extend our retrograde apoapsis out quite a bit, as much as we can. Keep in mind, I haven't used any RCS so far. Haven't had a need to. Been using all SAS for this. Then again, this is a purely one-seater craft. Where is Kerbin? Yeah, I guess we should have expected the thermal power to start dropping a little bit. And that's the fun thing about relying on thermal power is that if you're going to land on an atmosphereless body, you're not going to have the thrust to stop unless you're in an area that has power. You're not going to have the thrust to take off unless you're in an area that has power. So the good news is you can't land without having power, and you can't. So you should be able to take off because you should have power when you take off if you landed having power, unless, of course, the body is rotated around some. So if you plan for immediate, landing and takeoff, as long as you have power on one side, you're good. But if you need to rotate around, you're going to have a few satellites to bounce things around. Now keep in mind that even as I go through warp, the power of the electromagnetic drive, the EM drive, is still being applied at the same rate, continuously. So now that we have that orbit pretty far out there, I can go around to the apoapsis and burn against Kerbin's orbit. Because we'll be in full view of Kerbin while I'm burning. Now we're not removing that alarm because I'm going to be reverting this flight because this is simply a test mission to verify the practicality of this technology, and so far I am really freaking impressed. This is amazing. I'm sure many of you agree. I guess that's why they keep saying over at NASA if they actually can get a working EM drive that, things will change. I can see why. This will make all the difference in the world in space travel. So we're going to expand our orbit against the against the retrograde to Kerbin. PWR is starting to approach 1. Believe it or not, time warp is our throttle now. Objective altitude is about 100,000 meters. We will use the EM drive to decelerate our craft for safe re-entry to minimum re-entry velocity. We might even be able to use the EM drive to very precisely target our orbit to hit the Space Center. So I'm going to try that too. Now remember, once it hits atmosphere, it'll be all atmospheric all the way home. 100,000 is a good stopping point for the moment. One thing to remember about the EM drive, if you're using it on Interstellar, is that when you want to change your engine speed, you have to change your time warp back to 1. Otherwise, you'll continue to accelerate or decelerate, as the case may be, depending on how you're oriented. Let's see the Space Center. You flying over it, unfortunately, will be way too steep of an intercept to do that. It'll be going straight down on top of the planet. That would be lethal to this craft, I'm certain of that. However, we might be able to catch it the second time around. Alright, time to start bleeding speed. Now around Kerbin we got slightly greater thrust, but we also have a slightly lower a much lower TWR due to our proximity to the gravity well and also proximity to power source. I'm doing two things here at once. I'm trying to correct our angular velocity to get us into an equatorial orbit, and I'm also attempting to fix our apoapsis, bring it down some. Which with that much thrust shouldn't be hard. Now our thrust will fluctuate as we go from satellite to satellite. But fundamentally, the objective is the same. Kill our momentum. And we seem to be doing that quite well. First pass nearly halved our total altitude on Earth. I think it's actually rebuilding. We can cut power, go around for one more pass. Don't warp there. Again, this is mostly the EM drive doing all this work. With the position of the Space Center, I might go ahead and go full retrograde on the thrusters for the remaining 148 ISP that it has. Well, that might be enough to get us down, but I doubt it. I think I'm going to play it cautiously and just go around one more time. Make sure we have a sufficient approach. I don't want to go down and not be properly aligned. Bad things happen. Gotta correct that orbit. That has worked. Orbit is almost equatorial now. Inclination is only by about 3 degrees. That's good. Still be better. Now I've got to be careful here. I cannot push the periapsis below atmosphere. I think I may have pushed our orbit too far. That's funny. I overdid it. On such little thrust, I managed to over-calibrate the orbit. That's hilarious. Build altitude. No, I can fix it at the apoapsis if I absolutely need to. There we go. Yeah, folks, that's right. I can actually eyeball my orbits. That's how much practice I've had. I don't need a calculator. I can tell where they're going to go. My biggest problem is simply overdoing them. That engine for the moment. Accelerate to apoapsis. Next burn will probably be finding a point to re-enter. Which is good because by that time, Space Center should be over on the bright side. We should be landing into dawn. It'll make things a little bit easier. All right, start bringing that orbit down again. And start correcting the descent ascent angle. Powering up our lasers here, our EMD. EM drive, yay! Could not take very long at all to fix our orbit here. Inclination is rapidly approaching ideal parameters. I must say the EM drive is much more finicky than its counterparts. Orbital inclination is close to being corrected. And so is eccentricity. Up the engine for just a moment. We're getting too close to atmosphere. Oh, we've passed a turning point on the orbit. I've got to correct in the other direction here. And inclination is now going in the other direction. So we must be as close to zero as we can get without it flipping between sides. So lock on periapsis, wait till periapsis arrives, and then counterburn. Now it looks like we are coming up on space station, so this would be a good point not only to burn our EM drive, but possibly also our main thrusters. the ideal position to re-enter at will be just short of the space station, or of the space center. We are out of maneuver fuel. I will cut over to using the EM drive only now. Throw our main engine over to atmospheric for when we need it. Looks like we are going to fall short of the space station or the space center on re-entry, which is ideal. We will now turn over to a prograde orientation, turn on the main engine, and prepare for re-entry. BJJ, you're so funny. Re-entry angle locked. And we have atmospheric contact. Main engine on fractional power. Just a reminder, folks, rules say that this is a family-friendly channel. F-bombs are not tolerated. Frequent F-bombs, even less so. Yeah, really hating this, folks. It will survive, but I really don't like it. Oh no. Oh god, no. Oh, just hold together. If it holds together, I can get out of the spin. Okay. Woo! That was funny. Alright. Get you prograde. And take you out of time acceleration. No wonder I flipped. I forgot I was in ×4. Good news is we're not far away from the station. Or the center. That and this thing rolls, comes out of stalls pretty easy. Grab it, SAS. There you go. Never try to maneuver on ×4. Bad things happen. want to investigate the cause of the torque on this craft. There's a little bit of it, but it's enough to be annoying. I mean, it's small but noticeable, and I don't like it. We want to fix that. Now remember, this has all been a test and demonstration. This is not an actual mission. The whole point of this was to test the plausibility of a hybrid baseplane EM drive craft that can travel between atmospheric planets. And I'm fairly certain that that's going to be doable. Alright, time to bring the nose down and come home. A little bit off on our approach, but not by much. Alright, we are good on approach. Drag from the gear will help stabilize us, keep our nose down. Because right now, where we lost the hydrazine on the front, it wants to nose up quite a bit. Fortunately, you got counteracting drag. Glorious day for a landing. Right at dawn, too. It's going to be beautiful. Anybody have a preference as to first person or third person view landings? I need to confirm our gear down because we're getting a weird audio clip. Okay, gear's down. That might be the sound of the EM drive firing. I think it is. Need to drop more altitude. I'll feel better at about 200 meters.